Hello.
Hello. He's here, the man, the myth, and the legend. There he is.
Yes.
There he
Damn.
is. How are you, my friend?
Well, it's kind of crazy to me that this week has been fine, and then everyone decides to drop all the news on Wednesday and a few hours apart. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, dude, the fact that they dropped the Assassin's Creed stuff right at the last possible second, right as all the previews for Crimson Desert are going up, which are also popping off. Like, when it rains, it pours, I guess. When it rains, it pours. But
Control had a embargo on the same time as Crimson Desert.
yeah,
Not sure if you saw that.
that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Great stuff.
I really wanted to talk about the control stuff, but I was like, guys, I'm drowning right now just trying
I think
to
they
stay
dropped
afloat.
like a 007 video too. Like
Dude,
they might have. I don't.
I got to
like,
now I got to check
come on.
that. That's crazy, dude. I do feel for them because like the marketing guys, they don't necessarily know what the other guys are working on, but I feel like there should maybe be, some sort of professional channel where all the companies can just be like, we're not going to say what we're doing on Wednesday, but maybe don't do anything on Wednesday. Just don't do anything on Wednesday. Because it happens all
Watch
the
there
time.
being nothing on Thursday.
Yeah, it's gonna be totally dead. Everyone's going on
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good day to be a gamer. We got lots to talk about. We're gonna try to
Yeah.
blast through our topics, everybody. It's been too long since the last show, but it's because we've been busy. We've been traveling. We've been doing previews. We've been doing all sorts of stuff, and as a result, we have a few key things to discuss. Kind of our bread and
Yeah,
butter.
I want to say one thing because of course I'm like trying the mic out. So I now have this mic, and it sounds fine, but I can also quickly change to the other one and see if that is a bit better. Because I'm not talking in this one, but it's not the one that I'm using.
I see.
But let me quickly switch. So this is the other mic.
Okay, what do you guys think? A or B? A or B?
Yes. So the one that I started with or the one that I'm using now?
We'll see. We'll give it a second for people to respond. I think they both have their advantages. I see A, B, 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 B. I see a lot of B's. B. I'm seeing a lot of B's. I think B is the winner.
Okay, we're doing B. We're doing B. Yeah. And I saw someone ask,
Liquid gave a
was
D.
you're the person who got stuck on the Sky Island puzzle? And I had to laugh because I really think, look, I really think that there will, like, this game is reaching mainstream appeal. And I do think that that is going to turn off people. I do think that this game is, it feels like we're going back to 15 years ago in a way where, of course, the Sony games kind of went the other way, where it was like Atreus like hinting at the puzzle if you did not
Literally.
complete it in like 2 minutes, and this game just was made in a vacuum or something. Like they did not see those things or they didn't want to put it in. But I do think that at least having the option, like a puzzle hint, is kind of nice in this day and age because there's so much cool stuff in Crimson Desert that I don't think some people will never see because they cannot figure out that they had to use an ability that they unlocked 10 hours ago on this puzzle that they never learned. Like I do think it's kind of nice that, okay, you get an ability, you see, okay, it interacts with this and this, and then, okay, if you then have to remember that for 10 hours, sure. Because this is an open world game, I think that is another part of it. You can follow the main story, have puzzles in the main story, and then, yeah, if you just follow the main story, you'll probably be fine. But a lot of people will not do that. There will be people that are in the open world, immediately go do different things, then go back to the main story, to this puzzle, and then they have to remember this one ability, and there are 100 abilities, and then they have to use it in a new way that they never used before. So
Yeah.
I do think...
I've heard a lot of discourse around it, and just in case anybody's curious or hasn't been following the coverage from today, basically Crimson Desert previews went up, and one of the points of discussion, I think SkillUps mentioned it, a few other people have mentioned it, is that they felt that some of the puzzles were like clunky or difficult or unintuitive, whatever word you want to use, and that they struggled with them. And the way I described it was that this game does not hold your hand. There is no yellow paint. They will give you explanations of what the buttons do, and that's about it. And then it's up to you to figure out how to work those systems in a way to accomplish your goals. I love that. as somebody that loves like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I love that kind of thing. Some people, I'm sure, hate it and they want more hand-holding or guidance. But I think I maybe it's naive of me, but I really hope and I also believe that the average gamer is way smarter than like games media and a lot of game designers give them credit for. Yes, there will be people who crash out because they're like, I don't know how to do this. They never told me. And they crash out and they freak out. There's going to be people like that and it's going to be funny. But I do think that a lot of people, once they get in that mindset, just like they did with Elden Ring and games like Breath of the Wild, they'll rise to the challenge and it will elevate their gaming experience, like you said, to a place that it used to be at 15 years ago when games weren't so focused on holding your hand and dumbing it down. So I think it's actually people are going to appreciate it. There will be crash outs, don't get me wrong. And people were asking what my Metacritic prediction is. I think it's lower than I would put it, will be what the average is. And I think that that's because the average game reviewer is used to kind of the heavy guidance and I think are going to hit against those walls. But I think a lot of the average player that's going to go and get into this, they're going to eat it up. And I think it reminds me of something I spoke with Will Powers about at the preview event that we went to, where he mentioned how the developers, they come from the MMO world. And so they're coming from a world where complexity is celebrated and even expected, and where it's very normal for there to be some puzzle that's really obscure and you're trying to figure it out and you have to think back to that thing you saw hours ago. And maybe you even look up a guide or you hear from a friend, dude, I figured out how to do that puzzle, in the cave. Yeah, I figured it out. You have to do this. And it's like, oh my God, that's brilliant. They designed the game with that in mind, to have the community helping each other be basically a mechanic of the game. And again, that's something some people are going to love, but certainly some people are going to hate.
Yeah. I totally see that. I think there are like, because I did not right now with the limited puzzles that we saw, and they were early in the game, so I can imagine it, of course, getting more complicated later on. I did not get that, oh my God, I did not see that moment. I got more like, how was I ever going, like, it was never clear to me that this is what I had to do. So, for example, one of the puzzles is, so you basically, at one point, very early on, get the focus or like the force punch ability. And then you have to like grab a block, put it in, and then punch it to, basically put it in place. Before that, you get your grapple hook. And then you have like a circle thing, and then you grab it with the grapple hook, and then you like move the circle around so a line can basically exist, and then a door opens. So in this new puzzle, also early on in the main story, you see 3 circle blocks with a line as well. So yes. You're immediately thinking, okay, I have to use the grapple hook because that is what that is what the game was teaching me. I use the grapple hook, I turn the blocks around, and then the line will go through. But no, they want you to use that force punch that you used for something completely different, and that you got, again, depending on how you play this game 10 hours ago. And it's not that somewhere there's like a number and you have to connect the dots. No, it's basically, okay, you have 3 circles. You punch one circle, then another one goes. And then you're like, okay. You punch the other circle, and then this one goes like that middle one. So again, 3 circles. Yeah, this one. Exactly. And then the other one goes up. So you're like, okay, what is happening? And then you have to understand that by pushing these different circles, another one, basically comes forward. And then you just have to kind of trial and error to see what the order is. One thing also is that this force punch costs spirit. And you're not in a puzzle area where your spirit is unlimited or something. So what happened with me is I was trying all my abilities, my spirit was empty. So I could not spam the buttons. I had to wait for, I think, 1 minute or maybe 30 seconds or something.
But do you know what you're supposed to do for that? if you
Eat
go
apple?
in, no, if you press both sticks, left and right stick down, and this was like this is another example of that, guys, where like it's something you learn and you might forget about. But if you press that and go into focus mode, it refills your spirit like 10x speed, like within 5 seconds. It fully
really?
fills up. Yeah. So if you're
Oh, I
doing
didn't
that,
know that.
yeah, if you're doing that puzzle and you run out of spirit, you just go into focus mode real quick. He goes kumbaya, and then it fills up, and then you go and keep using those abilities. But like that's an example of something where if you don't remember that, or you like quickly close the menu that explained that, you wouldn't know that. And so you would do what happened to you, where you're sitting there for a minute trying to like, okay, I want to use my ability, you know. That's another one of those examples of something that you might just not realize, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And there was also one bug, I'm not sure if you had that, where if you were facing the block and using your ability, the character would move to the right. So it was like a perfect storm of things where I had this bug where I could not press the button I wanted to, had to wait for a long time because I didn't know about that focus system. And then I had kind of no clue how to, like, first I was using the grapple hook to move these blocks around, and of course, like, in the end it took me like 15 minutes to figure it out. It was also we're in this preview session, you have like 4 hours to play this part, so you're like, okay, this is taking me a long time. I'm more just, I know there are people that will fall off because of this, and that is fine. But I do think a lot of the other systems are way more casual friendly. So it's more that the choices are interesting, that they wanted to go with these very complex puzzles in the main story. Not like even, I'm sure there are optional puzzles as well that will be way more complicated, and I'm fine with that. I think that's awesome. But in the main story, having these as well is kind of like progression blockers, while a lot of the other systems, like, you can bring to a boss fight 100,000 food items so you can always heal. It's not like you have a limited amount of potions. There were items that can revive you on the spot, so you can make the game way easier in way more situations. But for those puzzles, they're like, no, screw you guys. And I don't know, like, I was just not having a good time in that moment. And I know I totally get that it's like like I am maybe spoiled by all the Sony games in that way. And I think that those are totally taking it too far. But it was an interesting kind of change of pace, because if you look at the game, I do think you're kind of like, oh, it's more a Witcher, it's an Assassin's Creed. But yeah, it is not really. It does have those Korean MMO flavors that we just don't really see that often, and I think it's just good to throw that out there. And totally, if that's your vibe, totally good. But I do think it's also important for people that are just seeing the cool combat and stuff, that sure, that is all in the game. There are a lot of cool parts in this game, but I do think you have to get through some frustrating parts for some people to get to that good stuff.
Yeah, I think you know, you put it well, where it's certain games have kind of spoiled people, I think, where there's a mindset where I think some people are just used to the combat style or the puzzle style of something like maybe here it is, where maybe it's like AC puzzles, where it kind of, I mean, we've all played those AC puzzles where it's very, it almost solves itself. Like, you walk in and it's like you see 10 boxes and 3 of them are set off to the side. So you just pick up the boxes, set them down in the grid, and you're good. And then the puzzle's over. And it's like not really a puzzle, it's busy work. You know, it's at least I wouldn't consider it a puzzle. But I'm coming from the realm where I crave more complicated puzzles that really force you to think. And so I see this and it's like a breath of fresh air. And there were moments where I was like, I kind of paused and had to think, okay, how is this working? Okay, let's think. Okay. And I used the example in my big video that went up on the main channel today, where in the end game save that we went to, there was like a large platform up pretty high. And, you know, after you do the puzzle stuff on the ground floor, and so I was like, okay, I need to get up there. And I looked over and there's like a wall you can climb up to get up to the upper level. And that I think is how most people would go and do it. But then I remembered that one clip I saw from back in the day of them using the grapple thing on a tree, pulling the tree down, and then slingshotting super far. And there was a big tree next to me. I was like, I'm going to try it. And so I grabbed onto the tree, left trigger, wind it with the right stick. It pulls it down. You press jump, it goes flying, and Cliff, sure enough, and landed perfectly on the platform. I was like, okay, so they put that tree there for me to do that. I could have done it the other bashing my head against the wall literally way, or I could do it the kind of creative way, and they were rewarding me for that. And yeah, I see somebody brings up Hell Is Us. Hell Is Us is an example of a game that also like proudly does not hold your hand, and I love that kind of game. But I think you're right. Plenty of people would play it and go, I hate this. I need more structure, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that absolutely there's going to be people who try to get into this. My hope is they get into it and realize how rewarding it is to have a game that doesn't hold your hand or guide you when you solve that and figure that out yourself. It makes you feel like $1,000,000. But and hopefully they don't give up on it. But you know, that's certainly something I'm sure the team's aware of, and they're pretty confident that people will be able to get through it.
Yeah, and of course, like, this is a day and age where, like, that wasn't the case 15 years ago, where YouTube is such a big part of everything. So you can easily just type in the main mission and then see the solution. So
yeah,
I'm sure people will get through it.
Oh yeah, in the age of TikTok, I mean, I'm sure those pages that are like, did you know that you can get through this puzzle by doing it this way? Like, those videos are going to go hard.
You won't believe the solution.
Yeah, you won't believe the solution to this puzzle. Is he having a seizure or is he excited? I don't know. It's TikTok. It's both. Yeah. What for you? Somebody asked this earlier. What for you was like something that both impressed and maybe both impressed and disappointed you about your time? Maybe the puzzles are, you know, that's your disappointment.
Yeah, there are a couple of things, but I'm mostly impressed by the skill system, because every note is basically a brand new move, and I think that's also so basically you start the game and you already have some skills unlocked. You of course have your regular light and heavy attack combos, but also you can press R1, so the right button, and then with any of the face buttons, and then any weapon you use. So with X, it for example does a slash. With triangle, it does a sort of like a stab move. And yeah, it's very cool to already have way more than your typical, you're just like, oh, I do a light, heavy, and that's like my combo. No, there is way more you can already toy around with from the start. And then if you take the time to look at the skill tree, you see that every like skill has a video, which usually means it's a brand new move that they're trying to explain. And you can get these artifacts that you need to get these skills very quickly. So it's very cool that even from moment one thing that I wanted to try was unarmed combat. And you can very quickly from the weapon wheel select unarmed combat, and there's one skill. So it's only one node in this really big skill tree. And then you zoom in, and then that skill has like 5 other skills that do not only like they're never saying increase your damage plus 10. No, it's always this adds an extra combo to this unarmed combo thing. Oh, and if you press like R1 and R2 at the same time, you do this like charge up move, and then boom. So there's one node that has 5 extra skills. You give these artifacts to it, and you can basically play like this sort of martial arts master. And again, there's so much more. So I was super impressed by that, and that you can already do that very early on. The ranged is pretty cool as well. There are these elements that, of course, like you can put fire on one ability, but it works then on arrows as well. It's across your whole kit. I do think if you like, this has to be your main game. I do think if you maybe at one point there's another game coming out and you come back to this game, you will be overwhelmed with the amount of moves and what was this. And I already during this like early 6 hours that we played, what was that like combo again for? So I had to go back to the menu. So I do think muscle memory is very important in this game. Yeah. But when you get the hang of it, it's very, very cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. I saw, well, let me ask you, did you see the clip from the Korean YouTuber that just Cammy posted?
No, about the console performance.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, in that combat, like he's doing some moves that are absolutely crazy. So he's doing the light blinding thing with R1 L1. He ties it into a heavy attack combo. He then does like an R1 triangle jab right there, and then he goes into a light attack combo, and then he goes and he pivots back around. He takes some damage, but he pivots back. He does a perfect parry to stun lock them. And then he goes and we do the same thing again with the blind to slow time. And then he ties it together into this combo. Absolutely crazy. Probably the best, like most skillful gameplay that I've seen from any of the preview events.
And you can do this for 4 hours into, like, very early into the game, because like normally a skill tree has these like lines, and this game still has that, but it doesn't matter. You can immediately go to the skill you see in the far back and immediately unlock that. And the blinding is awesome, and that's really cool about this game in general, that you have skills that you can use for the puzzles and like for engaging with the environment, but they also have a use in combat, like that blinding with your sword, that reflecting the sunlight is used for the like the puzzles for the islands in the sky. But yeah, you can also use to blind enemies, and then one skill is, if you then follow up with an R2, you do this very cool combo. So,
and did you know what else you can do with that? For me, it was like one of the most impressive things that I saw, because I just never thought I would see it. One player next to me got stuck at that piece of the tower where you got to burn the vines, and couldn't get past that because they ran out of arrows, I think, in the combat leading up to it or something. And so they couldn't get past it. They called the dev over to help them. The dev comes over, grabs the controller, realizes you're out of arrows. He's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. He does the light reflecting and uses the sun reflected off the sword to ignite the vines, because he can focus the light onto the vines to light it on fire. And I was like, dude, I never would have thought to even try that. That's awesome. And it made me excited to think what other systems like that are in the game that we don't know about, where it's like, I never would have thought to try to combine that, but that's brilliant. I love that. Like,
yeah. What you're supposed to do there is like grab your bow and then go to the brazier like nearby and then get the fire arrows. That where we've seen that in other games as well, but this is crazy that you can do that sort of stuff. I think we will learn about new things for months.
I think so too.
After this game is out.
I think so too. There's just so much here, and they're also keeping some of it, close to their chest. They're not revealing some of it. A good chunk of it is private. My understanding and expectation is that there's also going to be a number of boss fights that are completely optional, that you will only see if you happen to go to this place and engage with this person. There was a moment. I'll keep that vague, but there's things that I saw in the endgame saves where I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, I think there's going to be cool moments. So I expect that this thing is just brimming with content. They suggested to me that to do like a completionist run is hundreds of hours, and I believe it based on what I saw. I mean, it's absolutely wild. Now,
and like all the bosses have these unique items as well. Like I fought a drill boss, like there's like a quarry pretty early in the game, and if you just go there, you see a lot of enemies and you're like, okay, this is your regular enemy camp. But actually in the back, you have these like boss arena. Go there, and then out of the wall is like almost Big Daddy comes and fights you. And then when you take it out, you get its drill arm that you can then use to mine items. So like that is pretty cool. And I really think that by having these unique items with unique effects, it means that even if you fight this boss way later in the game, the item will still be of value. So I think that's very clever.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's really, really clever. I like that. Thank you, Wealthy XP, preaching to the choir here. Thank you for the 10. They need to normalize open beta. It should have been a 6-hour open beta, not just closed preview. It's so annoying that studios act like big YouTubers are the only consumers with relevant feedback. I appreciate you think we're big YouTubers. It's very flattering. I appreciate that. And I also hate YouTubers. I mean, I think we all agree YouTubers suck. I think, like, to be real for a second, I think the part of the problem with doing just a broad demo, because they were asked about demos months ago. The problem is, for one, there's all sorts of development costs associated with doing a demo worldwide. and not like protecting the game in a way where you're not opening it up to either vulnerabilities or to data mining and to other things that can be problems. It's not that simple. It's not like, oh, just give them a game and build in a timer. There's been demos of games like that where people just go in the back end, edit an INI file, and all of a sudden the timer's turned off and they can just play indefinitely. So I think it's not that simple, which is the main reason. And then the reason
I also think it will not do the game any favors if they would like. I think if the game is out and people buy it, they give away more fair shake, and like a demo for this game. Like you have to think from the publisher's perspective. There are demos that totally ruined the game for many people. I think Forspoken was a good one.
Yeah.
Not like there are many demos that just hurt more than than they gain from it. But no, yeah, you have to trust the big YouTubers.
You're gonna like it.
The reviews will be out one day before you can still pre-order. So I think that is better than what some other companies do, that they even hold reviews. Like, we get the game early and wait, the game is already out, and then I can post a review on launch. That's weird. Yeah. That is usually a red flag.
Or they won't send reviews out and they say something like, we want everyone to experience it the same way. And then you play it and it's like, oh, there's a reason you didn't want people to play this early, because it's broken as shit. So it's, you know, there's always going to be the perspective that things should be done differently. I think they're handling it pretty well as you can. It's a game that just transparently and honestly, the way Will described it to me when he came on stream was, this is a game that probably, like, for the average person, doesn't show super well in the first 4 hours, because you're going to play it and you're doing like the tutorial stuff. You're going through the early stages of everything and just figuring stuff out. And that's, for some people, going to be a turnoff. They're not going to like that. They're going to wish that they were doing other things, that they were riding the dragon, that they were doing the mech stuff, and they're going to leave frustrated. And so they're like, why frustrate players when we can just give, like, select people with audiences a snippet of it. They share that experience with their audience, and then if they're convinced, they buy it at day one and go crazy and play it, you know? So I think it's, you know, stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's what you got to do. Let's see. Musico with $10 super chat. Thank you for that. Was there any console gameplay at the event? Also, at what resolution were you guys playing at? Keep up the good content. I'll answer from my event. I'm pretty sure it was the same for both of us, but at my event, there was no console footage. It was PC only. We were playing on 7900 XTXs, 32 gigs of RAM, blah, blah, blah. Basically, we were playing on ultra wide, which is why all the footage you're seeing is in ultra wide. That was rendered at 3440 by 1440p. And it was locked pretty damn solid at 80 FPS for me across the board, with everything set to ultra. It's my understanding that in Korea, they did have the same type of preview event, but they were given access to the console version, not allowed to capture on it, but they were allowed to try it and see what it was like. And that Korean YouTuber estimated that it was probably running around, on quality mode on the base PS5, around 40 to 45 FPS uncapped. And then on performance mode, it was running at 60 FPS full HD is what he was
Did he
told.
really say that? I think he said, like, I already see Twitter accounts say that, oh, it's running 60 FPS on console, guys. We should not worry. I really would not go that far. I think he said overall performance modes on console are 60 FPS, right? It was more like a general thing, not that Crimson Desert was doing that. That is what my take was.
Let me see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this, but I'll just play.
I can look at the stream.
Okay. Here, I'll just let it play, guys. Take it in.
Hi for the first time.
Real quick preface. It sounds weird because this is YouTube's new auto dubbing thing. So YouTube scans their voice and then translates it to English and then has that voice do it. It's weird, but that's why you'll hear some things where it translates it to Red Desert instead of Crimson Desert. That's why it sounds a little weird. It's an AI voice thing. But anyway, it's a transcription of his video in Korean.
Please note that recorded footage is no longer available, so what you see on screen is the PC version. I should also note that the PS5 version I saw wasn't the latest build and may be refined with a daily patch before release. Arus. While I didn't provide frame rates, I did see some differences, but it felt like 40 frames at 4K. As you know, the latest AAA games on the PS5 typically run at 30 frames per second at 4K in resolution priority mode, P-Saggy mode. And in frame priority mode, full HD 60 frames is the default, but even in 4K, it felt smoother than 30 frames, and I played a short 10.
So I see what you mean. He's describing it, he says, in performance or frame priority mode, full HD 60 FPS in frame priority mode. I could see that it's tough with the translation because I don't know if in the original translation he's speaking in the context of the Crimson Desert demo was playing at because he says it felt like 40K or 40 FPS at 4K. And latest AAA games come out on basic PS5s are usually 4K 30 in priority mode. 60 FPS full HD in frame priority mode. It felt smoother than 30 FPS. Let's see, it talks about playing the game without any major frame drops. Open world graphics are truly impressive. I think basic PS5 users might be a little worried whether to use resolution or frame priority mode. After this short demonstration of the PS5 version, started playing the main game Crimson Desert with excitement. Changed location and played the PC version. There was a PC spec AMD and then gets into the PC version. So the translation is clunky. It's clunky.
Yeah, but like I said, it sounds like to me as if he's saying, yo, I saw the game on quality mode and it was 4K and I think, and I like, maybe he has like amazing eyes and he's like Digital Foundry without all the tech and he can like spot
like Terminator vision.
I think that's pretty... I mean, that is pretty impressive if you can. But it sounds to me as he was playing on PS5 and he just was speculating. And he says, okay, the other games also have a, like regular PS5 games have a quality mode and a performance mode. So this, like then he implies this likely has that too. But I'm not hearing that and there are certain games that don't have that. As weird as it is, and we cannot like point to another game because this is on this new engine. Obviously, Black Desert, I do think is 60 FPS, but obviously that is running on a way older version of this engine. So it's hard. I think this does not confirm anything. Actually,
it's now that you pointed out, and if I listen to it specifically with the mindset that the way it's translated is broken up into the two chunks of like what typically is versus what he saw. He does say it was on quality mode and it was running 40 to 45 FPS based on his eye, based on his impressions. I don't know if that's informed by him asking one of the devs on quality, is it at 4K? Or if he's just eyeballing, because it's not stated. But yeah, this is far from like confirmed. It runs like this. If they were confirming it, it would be a public statement, a public release, right? So
they would be releasing footage right now. Like I think that is the thing that we can all agree. If it was running great, we would have seen it already. And maybe we would have not played on it, but they would not be this cagey about it, I think. So I do think there's cause for concern, although it could totally be that, like this person also said, they're doing a daily patch, the day one patch, where they're ironing things out and they only want to show it with that day one update. And then you have the best representation, because it might turn people off, obviously, to see a non-day one patch version of this game, and then they're like, what the heck? And then when the game like is actually coming out, it runs way better. So I think we just have to wait till March 18th, because I've requested the PS5 code as well. I hope I get it before launch, so I have my base PS5, my Pro ready, my Xbox. I want to try it on everything because that is still
brag.
I think the biggest question.
He has everything.
I got a
Humble
Switch
brag.
too. Please port it over.
No, I hear you, and like this is, I've been trying to also remind people. I'm like, guys, let's deep breaths. I know we're all excited. It's still like 2 freaking weeks away. Okay, like it's really easy to be like, God, why haven't they shown it? Most games don't share a damn thing before launch, and they're just like, yeah, you're gonna play it, you're gonna like it. And then, maybe it comes out and launches and it runs great. Usually we aren't getting a lot of performance details and specs unless it's a game that runs really well. Like the best example was KCD2 last year when they were very transparent. They were very upfront with exactly what frame rate, what resolution, everything was going to run at on each platform. It's like, that's the ideal. My understanding, it's been suggested to me very heavily that before launch, we will have a very clear understanding of what it runs like on all platforms, what the resolution and frame rates will be on every console. It's easy to feel like they haven't said anything. It's still 2 weeks. I imagine in the next week or two, but probably next week in the run up to it is when they're going to do like a full console performance deep dive or release one of those charts that shows all of it, just like KCD2 did, where they're like, on this platform it runs at this resolution and this frame rate, and at this thing it does this and this. I'm guessing they're going to do that. It's just really easy to get caught up because it's exciting.
I really think there are a cause for question marks. And
I would not play this on a Series S.
No.
Some platforms I'm like,
sure. Yeah. But base PS5, I think. Maybe a PC will obviously be the biggest platform, but base PS5 will probably be 30%. It's gonna be very, very big on that because this is a PS5 game. It is like those Sony exclusives, and that's why. Oh. Boom. And that's why, that's why I do want to at least like shoot out a flare and say, yo, if you like me, want Atreus in between the consoles, you're gonna have an issue. So,
Jor, the yellow paint
Aloy,
raptor.
just like you come into the room and Aloy's like, what if we like pull this lever here and then?
Dude, it's so funny because I do think that there are some games like that are so handholdy. They've trained players to not think and just to do. And like, it's one of my frustrations. There's the famous video, Red Dead Redemption 2 is outdated, or quest design is outdated, or I forget the exact title of it, but basically showcasing that, the structure of the game is very, it's not been innovated upon in many years. And you go back and you play Red Dead 2's story, it's very much like, go to this very specific spot, do this. This quest has to play out exactly the way they want it to, with you going here to trigger this cutscene to do this. It's very, very structured, at least in the main story. Elsewhere, it's more open. But I think that type of quest design has permeated through a lot of the AAA space. And so when players play something that is much more open-ended and is like, figure it out, dumbass. It's kind of shocking and jarring because you're like, what? But you'll figure it out. Nakey Jakey, thank you. I almost said Jake Lucky, but that's a different guy. Also a fun guy, very nice guy.
And I'm obviously like making jokes. Like I don't want it to be that bad, and I think that Sony did a great job. Actually, they patched the Aloy thing and all that sort of stuff.
Same with Atreus, they patched that too.
Yeah, for sure. So no, it's just like it was an interesting approach. I do think there are still some, like you asked, like another thing that I wasn't like I expected a bit more from was the world. Like my one biggest takeaway was you still see the MMO roots pretty clearly, and especially in how the world and the NPCs are. Like in MMOs, they usually just stand around. They're not like on a schedule or anything like that. And I know with like this game, every time you see it, you're like, I didn't know we could do this. I didn't know. So people already in their mind were thinking of this as like a Red Dead 2 or Yote, and of course we have seen Fable and what they're trying to do. This game is not like that. How I really see it is they're giving you this amazing looking, like amazing draw distance, incredible world with a very cool setting. I love how they have technology and are also medieval, and they have like the magical stuff with the Sky Islands. But yeah, there's not much going on apart from that. I felt there. I did see like some people getting some random events, but when I was exploring, I didn't really see a lot of interesting things. To be honest, I thought the village as well. Like people were speculating, okay, if I go into this village at night, will the streets then be empty? No, the same NPCs will just standing around. I saw a kid like up till like 3 a.m. or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. It's really that more old school approach, and that is fine. But I do think it's good to get those expectations out there after playing a Yote where it did feel like the world, like there were really like a lot of these small stories that I really enjoyed experiencing. It doesn't feel like this game has a very like old school type of structure for an open world game, and that's fine. But I do think people were kind of running away with their thoughts a bit.
Oh yeah, no, and it's natural for people to see stuff that's blowing their mind and be like, okay, so maybe they're going to blow my mind in these ways. But it's why I said, like, the game is exactly what it appears to be in the trailers, nothing more, nothing less. But it's important to remember that nothing more part. Like, there's still people that are thinking they're going to get in here and it's going to be like a narrative RPG, that it's going to be like Witcher 3 levels of choice and consequence. That is not what this game is. And you should not go into it expecting that. It is much more Breath of the Wild than it is Witcher 3. Some people love that, some people hate that, you know, but it's important to know what it is. And it comes with the narrative and the discussion. People are calling it like the everything game. It has everything. Danger with that. I get what they mean. It has a bajillion sequences, a bajillion different systems. That's true, but it's not everything. Like, there are things that it's not prioritized, and that's okay. Some of my favorite games ever, like an Elden Ring or a Breath of the Wild, story is not a major focus for those games, and they're still fantastic. You know, it's just a matter of priorities. So it's going to be fascinating to see kind of how it plays out, of course, as time goes by. But overall, I think people are pretty impressed. There's still a lot of question marks, especially when it comes to performance on like consoles, bug fixing, because there were a number of bugs that even I encountered, and I know a lot of people in the late game save specifically had a lot more bugs pop up. So I'm worried about like end game progression when it comes to bugs and bug fixing. It doesn't mean the game will be bad. One of my favorite games of all time, Baldur's Gate 3, Act 3, was totally broken when it launched. But because it took so long to get there, by the time the average gamer got there, they had patched it and fixed it. So I hope that they have it fixed on launch, but that's, you know, certainly something that worried me, was how many bugs seem to appear when we loaded into the end game stuff. But
yeah, that makes sense, because like flying around on a dragon, like a lot of things can go wrong, basically. And,
shocker. A lot of gears that could pop out of socket. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't really happen when you fly Sunwing in Horizon Forbidden West. Let's segue to...
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, fam, transitioning, shifting gears.
I want to grab something real quick. You keep talking.
Oh, is it a shirt? I bet it's going to be a Horizon Forbidden West shirt. So little background, just so we have a story, you know, prepped for this, just so you know. Horizon Forbidden West, they had a preview event, and I want to play a little, like, counter this a little bit, because I think that there's a way to do this where it could be maybe not fair. Oh, he's smirking. Did you see the really stupid stuff that was going around on Twitter where people were trying to clip SteamDB player numbers and say that Horizon Forbidden West or Horizon? Yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
it was so dumb. Hunter's Gathering basically, guys, had a play test that was closed, invite only. So they only invited 500 to 600 people to play test the game for a very specific period of time. People came in, played it, and then the time was over, so they closed the game and the servers shut off. Very normal for playtesting stuff like this. People were then going onto SteamDB and trying to clip it, be like, look, there's no one online, or there's 3 people online. The game's already dead. It was like next levels of stupidity. Like, it's at that point, you are acting in bad faith. I don't believe anybody is that stupid that they don't understand what a closed playtest means, or what like hours of operation mean. People were trying to do the same thing with Marathon when it went offline, and they're like, see, they lost all their players. It's like, there's no way you're this stupid. There's no way. You are trolling.
I think it's sometimes like impressive. Well, are this many people like still looking at the login screen, or like, why are there still
dude, it's like there's one guy on Concord that every like once in a while, every few months, there will be one player that boots up Concord and closes it down, and that's it.
Like did they like revive this yet though? Okay.
Yeah, he's like, maybe I can't connect. Weird.
Let's try Highguard.
Just totally disconnected. Yeah. It's like, I keep trying to play it. It's just not working. That's weird.
Did you, by the way, see that Highguard was played more on PlayStation than Xbox than PC? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. That whole thing. I guess we can do kind of a broad, kind of overarching discussion on this real quick, like the live service crap. But yeah, Highguard shut down. The player counts for Horizon Hunter's Gathering are very low, especially with no one playing it. But we also even saw this post from Chad Grenier. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how French he is, but he was the studio head and game director for Highguard, and he shared a bunch of interesting stats like George just alluded to, specifically that PS5 was the biggest player base by 2x above Steam, and then beneath that, or then Xbox and then Steam, which is really fascinating that by the time the game shut down, like Steam players had completely given up on it. And it makes me think that Steam players are much more sensitive to like load times being high, but I think they also just have way more options when it comes to free to play options for live service games than Xbox or PlayStation does. So when they saw the writing on the wall, a lot of them just jump shipped. I think this is right around the layoffs and everything, and they just like, I'm good.
And they might be more in tune as well with the game. Like the moment they laid off everyone, I thought like, why would you even like try and play? Like the writing was on the wall then. So yeah, why invest?
And he mentioned in a reply to somebody, this was very blunt and it made it kind of funny. Why are you guys not writing out the year one roadmap to see if it bounces back? No Man's Sky recovered and is now an amazing game that is always populated. And that game had a much larger uphill battle than Highguard does, which I think is true. Highguard, in theory, is easier to fix than No Man's Sky was. And he says live service is meant to improve over time, which is the premise of live service, is that it continually gets better. But Chad replied, not enough revenue to keep anyone employed to work on it, unfortunately.
That is harsh.
Which is kind of blunt, but that's true. And it's like George said, if you know 80%, it went from 100 people down to 20. If 80% of the studio has been fired, I think it's fair to say that that ship is sinking. Why would you get on and spend money on microtransactions? Bear in mind, they didn't announce refunds. They didn't announce that they're going to be giving people their money back for the cosmetics because they don't have the money anymore. It's all burned through. Like,
and I think that is a good segue to Horizon Hunter's Gathering, because I think the biggest news from that, like even if you like the game or don't like the game or whatever, and we're going to quickly touch on that, of course, as well. This is almost everyone at Guerrilla Games working on it. That's what Jason Schreier reported. And like that is a very expensive studio in in Amsterdam. They have one of the biggest buildings there. And we learned that Horizon 3 is delayed, or maybe it was always the plan that it would come later, which is basically they pulled people away. That's what Kotaku reported. They pulled people away from Horizon 3 to work on this live service Horizon game. And like we have not seen a game in recent memory where your reveal, if it has like 80% dislikes, will then go out to become a huge hit. And it might there might be a dedicated group, but I think the Highguard situation is another great example of how all these companies approach the live service genre in a completely wrong way. They should have had a small team at Guerrilla toy around with this idea, announce it a few years earlier, then bring in people. Maybe then they were like, oh, this is not what the Horizon fans want. It's okay. Maybe we still have time to tweak things. We're not with this, like not... a lot is riding on it already, even before they revealed it. And I don't think they have the leverage as well to come out, maybe have a few thousand people, and then see through the whole year one post-launch plan. I think this is very comparable in that sense, and it's kind of like crazy to me that we're still in this situation. But obviously these decisions were made during COVID when money was cheap and the live service boom was happening. But I kind of fear for Guerrilla, and maybe we're already kind of getting at the end of the conversation now, but that is, as a huge fan of the Horizon franchise, I don't know, man. Like this is not looking good.
Yeah.
Even, like the Steam numbers you cannot read, but like that means nothing right now. But we've not seen a game with no interest suddenly get like huge, and they need this to be way bigger than a few thousand concurrents. But that's what I'm seeing right now.
If that. I mean, I think the thing is the one thing that's worse than like high guard rage and scandalous reveal is apathy, when people just don't give a crap. And I'm getting the vibe that there's a lot more apathy towards Hunter's Gathering than certainly with High Guard. With High Guard, there was real interest and intrigue. They had over 2 million players come out and try the game over the course of its lifetime. I don't see anywhere close to that number coming and trying Hunter's Gathering. I do this for a living, and I still regularly struggle to remember what the name of the game is. I'm like Hunters, like I still struggle with it, and it's just not particularly interesting or captivating. And maybe, you know, the gameplay is so good that
I can talk about it, by the way, because I was part of the creator council, as people might know. So
yeah, why don't you share with
two-
us what that was, when that was? Share with us some of that.
So I can talk a bit more about it. Obviously, not everything because I'm still on NDA. But basically, I had like 2 separate events. One was in September, and one was more recently in January, where at September got to see the game. I was with other streamers, mostly variety streamers like that. I was there, and there was like Arctics as another creator, a very nice guy, and he's also very big into Horizon. But we were there. We were like, where are the Horizon fans? Like, it's only streamer Variety X, and I mean, they play a lot of games. They can give a lot of valuable feedback, but it was already clear from that moment that who are they chasing with this game? What is the audience for this? And then the second event was with even more variety creators, and Arctics was not even there. I was like the only Horizon fan, kind of being like, what are we doing here? Please, right?
You're like ringing the bell.
Yeah, it's like-
Someone listen.
Like, if I was not there, they would have had a completely different sort of take on how this reveal was going to go. So that is very interesting.
Oh, so feel free to say no. Are you able to elaborate on what those variety, you don't have to be specific about any of them, but what was the variety
there's an
streamer's
image out
impression?
there. You can see who the variety streamers are.
I just mean like in terms of their feelings, because I'm getting the feeling that you're like, I don't think this is for Horizon fans, and so you can give them that feedback. What was the feedback that, as far as you're aware, from the variety guys? Did they love this? Did they think it was awesome? Did they hate it? What, like, did you get any feel
I think
for that?
that is hard to talk about. I do think they, like, publicly, some of them reacted to the reveal. But I think that they have way less of a horse in the race, I think, because they, of course, play games all the time, and they play games full time on stream. So they probably see this as a game that they will play for 1 day, 2 days, and then move on. And that is how they always play these games. But I'm looking at it from this has to sustain this whole studio. And that is where I'm like, who are you guys making this for? So I think it's kind of hard to say what they, what their vibe was, because I don't want to speak for them. And obviously I can't really share more about all the feedback we gave. But what I can say was that I was surprised that I was the only Horizon fan during that second session. You can see photos of that. And like I got this is what I wanted to show. Like I got a statue from one of the guys.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, who is this? Like my biggest issue, or one of my bigger issues is, so they have this like enormous franchise with 2 games that you can easily spend 100 hours in, with a ton of characters you meet, and then they come up with these random characters and they gave them descriptions that you can read online, where it's like, this famous machine hunter about this and this and this, and I'm like, we've never heard of all these characters before, and they just were like, oh, we're just like doing this and this and this. It feels so weird, as if like this does not feel like Guerrilla Games making an Horizon game. It feels like a different company, like trying, like dipping their feet in the Horizon franchise and trying something completely new and just using the IP. But no, these are the creators of the franchise. It's so weird to me, and oh man, I really don't know where to start. I'm just so disappointed, and I just fear for, like, during that creator council, I met the developers and people that moved to Amsterdam to work on this game, and I'm like, okay, good luck.
It's one of those moments where it's like, what do they what do they see in it that is just so not clear to everybody else? It reminds me again, Concord has become a slur in the games industry nowadays. But when we bring up like the example of Concord, the reason is because the reporting is that Herman Holst thought it was going to be their Star Wars. He thought it was fantastic. He thought this was going to be like a generational live service game that was truly innovative with unique storytelling within the live service, when in reality everybody else concluded it was just like an Overwatch ripoff that wasn't particularly good, and was like really cringy in other places. And so like total disconnect from what they thought it was and what the average gamer felt it was. And with this, I feel like the reaction has been similar, where it's like like Horizon fans are not going to be into this. What live service fandom are you going after? You know, Sean Layden, there's that clip that resurfaced from a Kiwi Talks interview. He put it really, really well, where he just brought up the fact that there's a transition cost, a transfer cost, where you're trying to win over players from another live service game because there's a finite number of them. It's not like there's this endless bucket of players you can pull from to just build a new audience for your live service game. You're pulling them from somewhere else. I don't think you're pulling Horizon fans for this, which is reflected by the fact that you were one of the only Horizon fans invited to the events. For the second one, it sounds like you were the only one. And so that betrays that they even know this isn't for Horizon fans. This is for somebody else, for the average casual gamer or whatever. But even they, are they really going to give up Fortnite, or are they going to give up Roblox or whatever else for this? I don't personally see that happening. So it's just thoroughly confusing. Like, who is this being made for? And I don't think they know. I think it's literally just hoping that they come. I just find it baffling. Like,
I think you put it. Yeah, you're totally right. But I think a strange thing is that I do think there's an appetite for an Horizon multiplayer game. If it was an actual Horizon game, like, I do think a Monster Hunter Horizon game.
That's what we thought it was.
Yeah, I think that could do actually pretty well. And then we have not even talked about the NCSoft game that looks like an actual Horizon game. Like, it is. If you, before I knew about these games, put me in a room and you showed me the Horizon game from NCSoft and then the Horizon game like Hunter's Gathering, and you had like, okay, who do you think is making these games? I would say, no, Guerrilla Games obviously making Steel Frontiers, and NCSoft is probably for mobile doing Hunter's Gathering, but it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And they like, look at how cool this looks.
This looks way better.
This is what I in my head, and they're actually using of course they have more melee combat, which I think makes sense for, like, obviously the Horizon combat is a lot of range, but also slowing down time, and that would not really work in a multiplayer environment. So having the swords, and I think they are using the Forbidden West mechanics, but also elevating them, like the things you can do with the grapple hook, and those are not possible in Forbidden West, but I could see them in Horizon 3, and then I think this game would have made way more sense that, okay, we're not doing Horizon 3 yet, but we're already introducing new elements to this franchise that we can then later use in Horizon 3, and then people like that are dying for 3 but still want to play and live in the Horizon world will give this a shot. They will get familiar with these new elements, and I do think you can convince Horizon players. I think Ghost of Tsushima Legends is still the best example. I think that was mostly played by single player people that probably even bought a PS Plus subscription to play that. And that worked because it was the familiar Jin gameplay spread across 4 classes. And then you would go out and do cool stuff. So I think Sony is capable of convincing their core single player audience to play a live service game. But if you do it right, and I just struggle to see, because they said in the video, we always wanted to make an Horizon Online game. I really struggled to see that when they were thinking of that they were thinking of Hunter's Gathering. I just don't see it. It really feels like there were too many stakeholders from up high being like, we need Fortnite.
Yeah.
What do we have?
Literally, let's go for
Horizon.
the more casual audience who likes the cartoony graphics and stuff. It's just yet another example, I think, of Herman Hulst having no freaking idea what gamers actually want. Like, his batting average is literally it's pretty much zero. Like, Helldivers, which was the one big success they've had, was apparently, like, by most accounts, sort of an accident. They didn't expect it to do anywhere near as well as it did, barely marketed it, and it exploded. Everything he's been involved with does poorly.
Dude, I told you about the Arrowhead guy I met at Game Awards, right? Where, like, he was like, Sony wanted, like, we're not part of Sony's live service push. Like, we are making our own decisions, and they're letting them because it's doing very well. But they should not be able to take credit for that, basically.
Yeah.
And that is crazy to me. That the only thing that they actually that is a thumbs up in terms of the live service push. But maybe Helldivers also made them realize, like, yeah, we do want that shit. It can work.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Blue Point story with an Atreus game in hell, and then, like, okay, let's grab the part from Ragnarok that only half of the people liked, and make that into a live service game that we expect people to play for years.
Yeah.
What the heck, guy?
Yeah, it's like literally delusional. And I think, there's been stories of these, I guess, instances where, like, for Fair Game $, there was the alleged play test that happened that led to the founder leaving, maybe being fired, we don't know. The creative director left after that. There's been stories like that where Sony apparently has been inviting people in. You went to this creator panel in September.
That is totally a Concord thing, by the way. I think that at one point they realized, okay, we cannot just launch the game and do a pre-order beta and then people will show up. No, we have to actually listen to feedback. If they're actually going to do something with it, that's of course a different thing. But
well, and I think it's the real problem with some of these games is the feedback's not being received early enough, because I'm just a firm believer that there's some concepts that just will never work. Like, I think a Concord pitch should never have been greenlit, because I don't think doing an Overwatch clone in 2024 I don't think that was ever going to work. I don't think doing a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was ever really going to work the way that they were doing it. I don't think that a game like High Guard should have ever been expected to do anywhere near the numbers they apparently expected it to do. But that feedback isn't really actionable past a certain point. Because what are they supposed to do? Like, you preview Hunter's Gathering in September after they've worked on it for years. People are like, okay, they show it to you. What do you think? And you're like, I think it's dead on arrival. I think this is a terrible idea and should have been canceled. They're like, thank you. Next. Like, what are they supposed to do with that information? They can't. They're too far gone. So
they're already in too deep.
Yeah, and so I think that there's just this problem with a lot of these projects, like you said, that were greenlit during COVID when money was cheap and it was easy to greenlight stuff. Everybody was basically gambling on these things. It was easy to greenlight it, but now they're in too deep and they just have to deal with the consequences and live with it. But I do think, and I've heard stories. I made a friend back when I was doing real estate who got out of selling real estate, being a broker, and he started doing brokeraging between games and publishers and stuff. So his job basically became to go find small studios, connect them with a publisher that gives them lots of money, and then he gets a sliver of it. Honestly, pretty good hustle. But he was saying all the money's dried up. He's like, nobody's greenlighting any of these live service projects. Nobody's greenlighting anything that's like considered to be slightly risky. Live service used to be seen as like the untapped pot of honey, Now it is radioactive. Nobody goes near it. So I think we're going to swing so far the other way. In 2 to 3 years, I don't think there's going to be anything coming out live service wise, except from the big guys, because it's now just so risky and so expensive and so oversaturated. It just doesn't make sense. But Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that is like they had to learn it the hard way, I guess. But that is good in some sense as well, because again, the part where the developers, like, they're moving countries all the time, and they're like, they have the best intentions and they're gonna do their best work and try to make it work. But like you said, some projects can just never work. So I feel really bad for people changing their life over a decision they did not make, and then trying to market it or make this character feel a certain way or whatever, and then nobody's gonna show up for your work, sadly. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and just I see some people saying, I hope that that's what happens. To be clear, like the industry is cyclical. All of history is cyclical. But people forget, back in like the late 2000s, there was a wave of constant attempts at MMOs. Like there were a bunch of them, and it was because of the success of World of Warcraft. Just like nowadays, games as a service is the big meta everybody's chasing. But you know what happened? There were a bajillion of them. A ton of them flopped and burned, at that time, not billions, but hundreds of millions of dollars collectively. And so they kind of gave up on it, and it chilled out for a while, and the money went elsewhere. And then, they got the idea to start trying these other games. But you notice in that like 2009 to 2013, 14 period, the focus was not on attempting MMOs or big live service games. It pivoted elsewhere. And I think that's where we're going to be until somebody comes up with the next big idea, the next Overwatch, which is kind of what came out, I think 2015-ish.
The next Battle Royale, the next Extraction, or whatever it's going to be.
Somebody will do something innovative, and that will kickstart the next wave of everybody's trying to copy that. But I think that the games as a service, the idea that you can just take Horizon and add a battle pass and that will magically make billions, that's clearly not true. That clearly doesn't work. And everybody's wising up to it. We could have told them that a few years back and they would have saved a lot of money. But, unfortunately, a lot of the executives, they have to learn the lesson the hard way.
Yeah, and they keep their job, obviously. They can just like move on to the next bet.
Or get promoted like Herman. How does that make sense?
He was demoted at one point as well, but
he was, yeah.
I mean, his job is gonna ride on tomorrow. Like that launch is gonna be so important, I think.
No, I mean, honest question. Do you think Herman? I think we've done this question before, but do you think Herman? They're one and the same. Do you think he survives? I'll say through this year. And then I'll ask you, if he does survive this year, do you think he makes it to the end of the generation?
I mean, like there are certainly things that he might take credit for that are doing well. Like Ghost of Yote was a big success. Astrobot won Game of the Year, etc., etc. Right? Like there are still things going well, but it feels like those are sequels from games that were like Sean Layden was like the boss when those things came to be. I hope not. I think it's time for someone else to change. I'm actually pretty excited about the Xbox change, even though it's of course kind of murky waters. But I think it's good that something is at least happening, because I think that should have happened like a long time ago as well. But I don't know. I do think there's a better person for the job. I'm certain of that. So I hope it changes, but I think it's not a yes, of course. I mean, I think I think it really depends on Marathon. If it's like a huge flop, then I do think Herman is out. But I think Marathon will be a kind of wishy-washy. It will be pretty well. It will do pretty well. And I do think it will lead to layoffs at Bungie. I do think the team that's working on it now is probably too big for the post-launch and for the amount of people that will play it. But yeah, I mean, that was a big, like the 3.8 billion. They already devalued Bungie, I think, at one point, and yeah, it's crazy. But on the other hand, like the thing is, PlayStation is doing super well. And again, the single-player games are doing pretty well. GTA will come out, and they will make a few billion by doing nothing. So it's not that PlayStation is in the dirt. It is just that I do, and that's why I hope he loses his job, or at least they're looking for someone else, is that he was put in position to make something happen with the live service games with Jim Ryan as well. Jim Ryan already left, and he continued. I think in any other situation, a Concord would be enough, I would say.
You would think.
But, yeah. But I think if you look at the whole graveyard that he's leaving behind, and basically Blue Point, like, putting that on a God of War live service, and okay, the Bloodborne situation, we learned that From Software doesn't want them to do it, which is fine, but still, the fact that you bought this remake studio and did not let them work on a remake, even though they wanted to do something else, like, okay, they wanted to do something else, don't give them a God of War live service game. That's so crazy. But I heard David Jaffe also say, like he of course has a very as the God of War creator and person who worked at Santa Monica and helped like found that studio, he has like a completely different look at the going on at Sony, and he just looks at it like Herman is kind of afraid to piss people off, so he's just doing as he's told, like he's making the safe bets, and maybe he's playing the political game in a good way, and again he has some wins. He still gets the nominations for Game of the Year and gets awards, and so that is still a PlayStation Studio thing, and he's the boss there. So I'm just really curious at how, like, does Sony look at everything he's doing, or only look at what I think his challenge was and how he's doing with that, and that is where he's failing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Like, clearly you have to be good at climbing the ladder and playing the political game to end up as the head. At one time he was like co-CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. You got to know what you're doing to climb that ladder, and you got to be able to schmooze, and clearly he's good at schmoozing. I think there's clearly a disconnect between what the average player feels is a good performance versus a bad performance. And I think most people can see that his metrics, or his ability to judge a game with potential, at least live service games with potential, I think is demonstrably flawed. It's not great, but perhaps, he was able to deflect blame for Concord onto Jim Ryan completely, and he was able to kind of take credit for Helldivers, and he's like, yeah, and we're going to keep swinging and trying. I'm going to revitalize Fair Game $, and I'm going to make it work, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to make Horizon Hunter's Gathering work, and I'll revitalize Marathon and reboot that, because he can kind of point the finger for all those other things at somebody else. But I think you're right. Marathon, now it's like all on his shoulders, and same with Horizon Hunter's Gathering. That's one of their biggest, most prolific and successful studios, and that's what he has them working on. And so if Marathon does okay, I don't think that's good enough to justify multi-billion-dollar acquisition.
Because you think that as well, right? That it will.
I think it probably lands that. Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be Arc Raiders levels at all. I don't think it's anywhere close. But it might have 10 to 20,000 regular players, which is solid enough. That's a good number, and it might even grow as they improve it and add content. I think it'll be solid. That's been my perspective for months. I just don't think it's big enough to justify a multi-billion-dollar company's existence. Like, it's a solid number for a small team of 150. It's not enough for, I think they're at like 900 employees or something now. They were at 1,800, but then they got cut in half, stuff split off. So I know they're not as big as they once were.
Yeah. And Destiny is like 10,000 concurrents now on Steam, which is like crazy. It's like 1/10 of the usual numbers a few years ago.
Yeah, I think that you're right. They probably do some downsizing. They reshift it. But I think, Marathon not exploding will weaken him a lot, and then if Horizon Hunter's Gathering flops, that it's going to be real hard to point the finger on that one, especially because if Concord was his baby, dude, this thing is his whole family. Like, he loves it. So I never thought that I would be like more optimistic about, like you said, Xbox's leadership change, and I've been very, very cynical at times. Skeptical, I'd like to say, but I've been feeling cynical towards them putting an AI chief in charge of Xbox. But the one picture that made me actually take a moment and go, wait, what is actually happening here, was when Asha shared that she was doing an interview. She was talking with Major Nelson, like iconic Xbox icon from back in the day. And if she was really being sent in to just kill it off, why would she be meeting with him, with like one of the OGs, an iconic Xbox personality? Like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, she might actually be trying to get a pulse on what made Xbox great back in the day and what they need to do to revitalize it. I still think she'll put AI in everything, don't get me wrong, but I was like, she might actually be trying to like reboot it. She might actually be trying. And it gave me a little bit of hope. It gave me pause.
I don't think it will be pretty though. Like there will be some studios that will not be.
They'll still do layoffs. She's still gonna do don't get it twisted. Her job before this was making AI agents that replace people, and then Satya saw that, was like, "You're good at that. Do that over here." And so I think that's exactly what's happening. Her job is going to be to downscale, downsize, replace people with AI agents, streamline development to cut costs. Like that's going to be her big push. But if she's doing that at the same time as like trying to undo the Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, everything's an Xbox. This is an Xbox. Like if that's her approach, and she's going to try to at least do the AI stuff while also revitalizing the brand, I'm optimistic that would at least level out to, okay, as long as AI slop isn't slopping, but I'll believe that when I see it. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm curious because I think their financial year also ends in March, right? So that might be... I do think that's too... They might like do a lot of layoffs and then a week later, hey, the Xbox showcase, look at all the shiny things we have.
Yeah. Usually they do the layoffs and restructuring stuff for, fluffing up the books right before the financial year ends. Yeah. And like you said, they'll try to be like, okay, forget about that, please. Look at this cool stuff. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Cool.
Let's pivot to our final little topic. Alexa, stop.
Yes.
My Alexa's trying to be helpful. So the final thing I feel like we should touch on, and then I'll have a speed round for one more topic, is what happened this morning with Ubisoft, where they actually shared a post on their blog, where they said, here, let me pull it up right here, a brand update, Assassin's Creed into 2026. They have a little video here from Jean Guston, who is the new head of content for the franchise. He is one of the OGs, okay? So he's the former creative director on Black Flag. He's I believe, was he also creative director on Origins? Was that his title?
Yes. Yes.
So he knows
Great
what he's
stuff.
doing. Yeah, like he's listing off his portfolio.
He knew what he was like. We will see.
Yeah. But they brought him back specifically. And the thing is, he is specifically the guy that has been put in charge when the franchise is stagnating and needs a spark, something fresh. And he comes in and does something fresh and different. Black Flag, at the time, it was seen as insane that you're going to make a pirate Assassin's Creed game. Like, what does that even mean? How is that an Assassin's Creed game? Like, nobody thought that made sense, but he saw the vision and it worked, in my humble opinion. Same with Origins, where he was like, I think we can open this up and do big open world RPG simulation stuff. And I freaking love Origins, not just because I'm an Egypt fan, but like I think it's great. Both had iconic characters with Edward and Bayek. A lot of people still hope to get new chapters in their stories. So like he's an OG and he knows what he's doing. He has a lot of respect within the AC community, for sure. But he's been brought back in, and before we get into specifics, why don't you offer your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, I think overall, like, he is, of course, like one of the three leaders. I think the biggest thing that we see is that it's now being led by Montreal. Of course, before this, we had Marc-Alexis Coté. He was operating from Ubisoft Quebec, so the Odyssey, Syndicate, and Shadow Studio. But now all the three leaders, and there are more like producers, they all worked on the big Montreal games. So some also on Valhalla, but it's mostly on Black Flag and Origins. So I think that's an interesting change. And I always think that the ones that were always making sure the Assassin's Creed DNA was still present in their games was Montreal. They would always have the confession rooms when you would kill a target, like social stealth and all that sort of stuff. Like that was still in their games, right? While like Quebec kind of went crazy with Odyssey, and to some people that was like, what the heck, this is not an Assassin's Creed game anymore. I think it also brought a lot to the franchise. I do think that a lot of people played Odyssey maybe as their first game and were like, whoa, this is great. With Shadows, they kind of tried the middle ground again, and yeah, we the narrative in particular just didn't really hit, and you still see that they're just not able to hit that Assassin's Creed feel, and they put Templars in, but it's just not the same, right? So I do think having the Montreal guys back, and we of course went to a Teams meeting earlier this week where we got to talk to Sean Godon, and yeah, he basically was trying to explain to us like everything we put out from now on will still have that Assassin's Creed DNA. So they're saying the right things, that we're even invited to a call where we can directly talk to him and share our feedback and stuff. Is also a step in the right direction. But of course, with Ubisoft, we've been covering them for many years. Yeah, actions speak louder than words. So let's see what it actually means.
Yeah. I was taken aback because they did invite us out to talk with him, and they wanted to open that channel of communication. And it was clear, like, they asked, tell us what you think and be real. You don't have to just like glaze us. And there was moments where, like, you know, we told them like, hey, there is a serious quality control issue. There's a lack of consistency when it comes to quality. You mentioned new quality standards. What are those like? Can you touch on those? There were other times where people were like, one guy, I don't remember who it was, but one guy was like, I really hate that you stopped doing the modern day storyline stuff. I'm upset about that. Like, that's actually like feedback that they can take and listen to, but it shows that they're trying to open up the channel of communication. That's easy though. Doing something with it is the tricky bit, and that's where I think a lot of us are like,
yeah, and that's when we get to the news today, I would not be surprised. This is speculation, but of course I had Simon, the post-launch game director on Shadows, on my stream in November, and he was talking about year 2, and they had kind of big plans. They wanted to do less frequent updates, but still have those updates be bigger than the biggest update we had for Shadows. So in November we had a very big update. He said it's gonna be like the November update, but bigger. And now we get to this announcement today, and they're like, as we reach this milestone, so Shadows is like 1 year old, Shadows will be moving into its final phase of support. We're winding things down with smaller, less frequent updates, but still a few surprises. I'm like, I would not be surprised if they came in and are like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Or the Attack on Titan thing might have been the one that caused things to change. Where where just having that, like that, really I think took the wind out of the sails for Mirage as well, because people were hyped on Mirage. A week later, we saw that crazy like Titan guy with the face that didn't look great, and that whole mission was kind of a debacle. And maybe that's like this, again, speculation, but maybe this is the first sign of what we're seeing, where they're like, we cannot do those things anymore, because this will also reflect back poorly on Black Flag that we're doing, and might even hurt Hexay, because maybe people will, I mean, I'm not sure it will reach that degree, but there might be things in development for Shadows where they were like, no, scrap that, we're not doing that anymore. So
yeah, and there's also other things. There was reporting, was it Insider Gaming, that was suggesting that since he came in, they've also done, of course they delayed pretty much everything as part of earlier delays that happened, but he's also come in and they've done other things, like apparently doing like reworking the combat system for AC Hexa and doing all sorts of stuff by hiring like a contortionist to do motion capture for the combat.
I think that was already the case though before before he took over. So Hexa is of course the next game that we're gonna see. It was always going to be a different type of Assassin's Creed experience. So first it was Clint Hawking, the guy that was the creative director on Watch Dogs Legion, and way back in the day he did Splinter Cell as well. The first time I heard that news, where I was like, okay, the Watch Dogs Legion creative director, I would argue that game failed because of creative decisions, is now doing the Hexa
It was a
stuff.
cool tech. They forgot to make a fun game.
Yeah, exactly. So, and now he's leading this like ambitious new Assassin's Creed. So yeah, he's out. And I also listened to, I think, the VGC podcast where they were like, yeah, he was like hard to work with and whatever. So we'll have to take that with a grain of salt. But it does seem like they're making the right moves. And Sean Gadon, again, the creative director on Black Flag and Origins, is now coming in to bring that game, or like push that game over the finish line. But I do think that the part about like Ezio joining halfway through the game and learning the ropes, or like letting the main character of Hexe become an assassin basically, and also the part about the combat were probably already in place before he took over. So
yeah, it's either way, like I think it's been fascinating to see that there's like all of a sudden a little spark of, dare I say, hope among some of the fan base, where they're like, specifically for me, it was hearing that there's new quality standards, and those quality standards are what pushed them to delay things that had already been delayed, like a good bit. Things like Black Flag, but also Hexa and everything else that they're doing. And when we were in the meeting with Jean, I did ask, can you tell us what those new quality standards are? And I'm thinking like, can you tell us like, oh, well, we have to hit a certain bug threshold. Like we have to be at these milestones at development. We have to, when we do internal reviews, they have to meet these standards. I was hoping to get details like that. He couldn't tell me anything. So I still don't know.
No, exactly. And I'm not sure if that is because like, I left the conversation being like, I think it's good that they want to invite us like as early as possible, but I think it would have been better if he was like at the job for at least a month, because he came in last week. So because then maybe he could share more. But maybe we will have another meeting like this in a few months or whatever before Black Flag or whatever,
when he can talk to us and tell us stuff. I do think it would be helpful if like, well, I think it's a good sign that given that he's only been there a week, one of his first priorities was, let's get in touch with the community and like figure out what we need to do, and hear it directly. Because as we've been saying for years at this point, it's not that hard to figure out what the community thinks if you listen and open up that communication. And then you don't end up with like the frickin' Attack on Titan thing. Any one of us would have told them, guys, I don't think this is good. I think we need to maybe not do this.
But and I think it's also like an interesting change of pace. Like maybe you can real quick look at the Assassin's Creed Showcase from 2022. I will give you the timestamp, because first the leader was Mark Alexi Cote, and I'm not sure if you ever heard him talk to like on stage or to an audience, but it felt like a robot, man. It was it's crazy how he talked. Assassin's Creed Showcase. He was like reading from a teleprompter, and this is already such a breath of fresh air having Jean Gadon in the call, and he also did like a so it's from 18 minutes is when he joins.
18 minutes, okay.
Well, let's have a listen to this.
Okay, do you have the link, or you can send it, or do you need me to look it up?
Oh, I can like share the link as well.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, and then you said, what was it, 17 minutes?
18.
Okay. Let me go 1 second, guys.
Like 1830. 1830, yeah.
Okay, here we go. This is Mark. So, to be clear, Mark Alexis Cotier, he is the former head of the whole franchise. This is him talking like a robot.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Alice. It's great to be here, and I love what you...
What? Okay, already, dude. I'm like 5 seconds. Okay, that's weird.
Done with the place.
Thank you. So let's start with our community. Can you tell us what makes Assassin's Creed so beloved by our global community?
Let's continue.
Well, at Ubisoft, our mission as a company, as expressed by Eve, is to enrich the lives of players. On Assassin's Creed, we have a very clear take on that mission. We want history to be everybody's playground as we immerse players into the richness of our shared past.
Dude, that is the most corporate robot thing I've ever heard in my life. We believe that history should be everyone's playground.
And like already hearing Sean Gadon, like of course we have to see his actions, but he at least sounds like a normal person, and I think that's already a good thing. And Mark Alexi always felt like corporate speak.
Well, it does just, I've always been curious when you hear this stuff, because this is a common thing in like corporate business where like they talk like robots. And I've always been curious, like behind closed doors, does he honestly think people are going to hear what he's saying and be like, awesome? Like, of course not. People are going to hear this and be like, what? What's wrong with him? Like, is he sick? Someone. Call the doctor. Like, you'd think that it's just so amazing to me that this type of thing happens. There was just that story the other day of I don't know if it made it to your news or your algorithms, but here in the States, the CEO of McDonald's ate a sandwich, and it was the most awkward thing ever because he's like, people everywhere love this product. Let's take a bite.
This product.
Yeah, he somehow made eating a burger sound like a robot trying to convince you it's human. It was insane. And it's always confusing me how nobody steps in. And I think it's a company culture thing, and it's also being out of touch, perhaps. Like, obviously there's a power differential between Mark and like the hosts. I'm not sure what their titles were at the time, but there's obviously, they can't step in and be like, Mark, buddy, what are we doing? Like, can we get him a drink? Can we get him like a 4-finger shot, loosen him up? Like, if we were doing the interview, we'd probably be like, dude, okay, let's do an icebreaker. Okay. What's your favorite color? Like, like let's loosen up a little bit. But there's this discrepancy where you can't just be direct and clear and like call it like it is. So having somebody that sounds human, I agree, is an upgrade. Let's just listen to a few more seconds because I just have to get another fix.
What makes AC different, though, is this kind of unique mix between historical accuracy and contemporary codes like the Animus. And when you put all that together, it gives you the chance to embody iconic characters, to live powerful fantasies, all the while immersed in intriguing historical settings.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. That I agree. That I'm amazed after watching that. That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah, and then if you then quickly want to like to round this topic out, like quickly listen to Jean Gadon and his like thing. I'm not sure if you have
get a taste of what he sounds like. Forgive us, his audio was not very good. The microphone's not great, but I'll just let it play.
Oh, and by the way, maybe you should not do this because I listened to this as well in my video, and the Origins music like completely demonetized everything. So maybe
no way, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm screwed.
Like they were like clever with like doing the Origins soundtrack, and I had to mute the whole thing.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, I will do this very, very short. Because the music ramps up. Just a few seconds.
My name is Jean Guédon. I've been working on Assassin's Creed.
His eyebrows move, dude. That's already a step up. That's already his eyebrows move. That's great. Yeah, he actually sounds like a human being. That's refreshing.
That's the point. Yeah, exactly.
So
we will see. And Black Flag, of course, they've officially confirmed it, so that's good.
Yes, it is shocking everybody. There's a Black Flag remake happening. It is just concept art. It's not even like a screenshot or anything. I don't know. Honestly, seeing him come back gives me more confidence that, like, if anybody's going to ensure that the Black Flag remake is not a total desecration of that game, it would be the original creative director. And I think he's now in a position where if he comes back in, he does a review of it, and he's like, what do you mean you redid the combat and now it's tic-tac-toe? What do you mean? Like, if it's really bad, I think he at least is now in a position where he can step in and be like, no, we're fixing it. We're doing it this way, this way, this way. Obviously, a lot of work has already been done. So if there's stuff that's really too far gone, he's, his hands are tied. But I think he at least understands the assignment better than Mark did, coming from Quebec. So
and I think having the Black Flag remake, like the rumor right now is one of the bookstores was putting it at July 28th. We have to see if that's true, but Tom Henderson in his most recent article said that they were going to reveal it in mid-April. That is at least the latest info he got from sources. I do think like we are going to see, like we're gonna get actions by very soon, even though he of course just came in, but like you said, I don't think they should announce it or reveal it if it's not up to their standards. So I think this already applies. So now we get the nice words, but we might see actions very soon, which is nice.
And I mean, the ball is literally in their court. Like they have the Black Flag remake, which is, in theory, it should be a layup. It should be so easy to bring this out and just get some easy like fan service points, brownie points, people buying it because of nostalgia. Like this should be a slam dunk Oblivion level success. But never doubt Ubisoft's ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So we'll see. I'm hopeful, but we'll see.
I can see like Black Flag come out, be good, and then the week after they announce Invictus, like that multiplayer Fall Guys type game, and everyone's like, "Oh,
here we go." I will say, I think if they do this, if they reveal it in April for release in July, I think they just should shadow drop Invictus, put it out there, and put it close to the Black Flag remake, because then if you're an old school AC fan, you have something to play, and if you are willing to try the multiplayer game, you have something to play. But I think if they try to make Invictus a big moment like Black Flag remake or Hexa, I don't think that goes over too well.
I think they're gonna do the Horizon Hunter Gathering approach, like just put out a video and say, yo, you can subscribe for apply for closed stats we're gonna do, and we're gonna make it with you. I think that's what the blog post kind of implies as well. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, just so people see, it's the team is incredibly passionate about what they're building. They did confirm Jade still does exist.
Yes.
So it's
Don't
not
you guys
been
have
canceled.
phones?
Yeah, everybody's got phones. And he says it's a new approach to multiplayer in the franchise, but it isn't quite what the rumors have suggested. With player feedback at the heart of the approach, we are exploring ways to bring the community in earlier so we can shape the experience together, which is what Jor's referencing, that they are open and interested in bringing players in. So there's that. But overall, lots of stuff happening in the industry. It's a fascinating time. And tomorrow we've got Marathon. We'll see how that goes. We have Crimson Desert in the home stretch. We've got Saros coming relatively soon. We've got I have a sneaking suspicion that we will have Starfield updates soon as well.
The leaked release date is April 7th, I think, and the pre-order dates are March 17th, so that might be soon indeed.
Yeah, I was not invited to anything, just so everybody knows, but I do think that there are strong rumblings that things are moving. But we'll see. Overall, it's a good time. It's a good time. Fascinating.
It is a good time indeed. And the Ghost of Yote Legends for the fans is dropping also next week.
Yep, on the 10th, I believe. So, there you go. How dare they?
Worst timing ever.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, much love. Last little, I said there's going to be just one speed round. Quick one sentence reaction. Jason Schreier just reported this morning that Sony is pulling back from PlayStation first, like single player games on PC. What is your knee jerk reaction to this? Are you surprised? Are you happy? Go.
I think it makes sense looking at the sales of the recent PlayStation games. I think they ran the numbers, and like the first games did very well, but then the sequels did not do very well. So I think they ran the numbers and are like, these are way more valuable as exclusives. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think they've been doing a long experiment looking at lots of data, way more than we have access to. And the data is just showing that a lot more PlayStation players, I think, are moving to PC because they can still get the games they like. compared to the number of PlayStation or rather PC gamers that were moving to PlayStation. And so I think they were starting to hemorrhage players over to PC, and they're like, it's more valuable to keep them in the ecosystem, take 30% of everything they buy. We'll just keep it exclusive. And that's going to be the push moving forward.
Yeah, I think they have to make an announcement. I think that would be the baller move, to be like, yo, this is it. Because then...
There's no
now,
question, yeah.
Yeah, except now people are still thinking that Yote will launch on PC. But yeah, if you do that around the GTA 6 launch, pretty big.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clearly the new directive that they're taking in light of everything going on with Xbox. But anyway, there we go. Thank you for chilling with us, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Much love.
Appreciate. I hope you all have an Atreus in your life that helps you with the mundane tasks and puzzles.
And I hope all of your hunters are gathered and you look out on the horizon and are thankful that at least this game is fair.
And remember,
$.
It's a sprint, not a marathon.
It's a sprint, not a marathon. Much love, everybody. Sorry that we kind of ran out of time on this one, but I appreciate the gosh darn heck out of all of you. You're all fantastic. I see there were also some super chats came in. It looks like people were watching the stream back in the, like further back in the VOD. So you were still asking questions about Crimson Desert early on when I was doing my initial reaction.
If you still want to quite quickly tackle them for the people. That,
we can, let me see. Okay, we read that one. Tony with the 2, so good to see my 2 faves together. Yes, much love. Glad to have Jor here. Let's see, Wealthy XP. That one's, it says 132. I think the timestamps are wrong on these, but I'll read it anyways. With the 10, they need to normalize open beta. Should have been a 6-hour open beta. Oh, we did read that one.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we talked on that.
Musico, thank you for the 10. Was there console gameplay at the event? We did talk about that. NFT Vegeta, thank you for that super chat. How random are NPCs? Like, are they interactive? Do they follow a schedule? Are the NPCs alive in Crimson Desert? Love the video from both of you. Keep it up. No, like Jor said, they're pretty MMO-esque. They do have tasks that they're like doing, so they'll like spawn sweeping, or they'll spawn hammering something, or they'll spawn playing a game or arm wrestling or something, but it's not like they're fully simulated like KCD2 or anything. Let's see, Red J Ray, I think, maybe. Thank you for the super chat. Have you heard anything regarding playing on keyboard and mouse? Getting worried how the combat will work? Do I need an MMO mouse for this game? No, I tried it on keyboard and mouse. I thought it played pretty well. They advised me it's primarily designed for controller, but I thought it was fine on mouse and keyboard, personally.
Yeah, with the amount of like buttons and stuff, and you can remap those as well, while on controller you can't. So I think there's actually a lot of I think keyboard and mouse might be the preference for most people, or a lot of people.
Yeah. Total Malarkey, thank you for the very generous 20. Sounds crazy, but one thing Starfield did well was the difficulty sliders for everything. Like, I turned off survival stuff as I find it annoying. For the puzzles, people may end up guide dependent like many MMOs, which sucks. Yeah, I hope that I always encourage people, with those types of puzzles to push yourself and try to get in that mindset of like, okay, let's break this down into its core parts. Because a lot of puzzle solving is just about not giving up and being like, okay, let's think about this from a new angle. And that's what I love about them. But I do think you're right. There's going to be a lot of like wikis and guides for Crimson Desert are going to be big, I think. Husam Salem, thank you for the 2. Very generous. Thank you. Jeff Hanna, thank you for the 5. Hey, it may be too early to tell, but I think Crimson Desert is going to be a huge win for the industry and for gamers. Keep up the good work, guys. It definitely is giving some of the big AAA open world devs a kick in their pants to be like, look what we're just casually doing. Look at the scope.
Yeah, but it's another game that has been in the works for such a long time, and that is what it feels like. Like, games have to be moments, have to be big moments, and like a Resident Evil is like also sold 5 million, but for those games we will have like September, October this year is gonna be crazy. Like not everything will work. Sadly.
It's but I think Joe's right. It's about being a moment, and that's been Xbox's struggle, is that their games just kind of bloop and are gone.
Yeah, they have too many games.
Too many, and they don't market them well. I think they can just drop it, and that is enough. But no, like, if you want it to be big, you have to act like it's big. You got to treat it that way. And that means spending money on marketing, but also being out in front of people. Like, at least in the States, I'm sure in Europe it's similar too, but Will Powers has done a fantastic job marketing Crimson Desert.
I think it's... modern like way of marketing, like joining podcasts like that's unheard of. That is really crazy.
Yeah, but it's demonstrably worked, and that's, I think, maybe the lesson to have. When they're doing the Black Flag remake, have Jean or whoever come in and actually go on stream with people, talk to them about it, and answer questions. They may be tough questions, but I think that's what people expect, and they respect it when they see it, which I think is the big key thing, especially in a world where things is corporate.
I think like Prolab is overall like very interesting, because I heard that they also have to play the game for like an hour every day or something. Like they have to know the game by heart, so it's not just marketing people that never touched the game before and have to like secondhand info make a marketing plan. No, these are really like in-house people, so I think that's really working too.
Yeah. Let's see, almost there. Marno Frank, I think. Thank you for that super chat. Are the enemies in Crimson Desert easy to defeat, or do they offer a challenging, realistic combat experience? I wouldn't call it realistic, but I would say there are challenging enemies. I got to the boss fight at the end of chapter 2. He was challenging. It took me a handful of tries. And then the end game save file, that boss was downright hard. He was a monster.
Yeah, but you have a lot of tools to make it easy, or you can stack up on food items, or have those items that revive you mid-battle. So there will be challenging fights, but there will be a lot of ways to make it easier.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, good.
Absolutely. And then John Andrew sent a $2 super chat. I don't know what this means. South of Mind PS5?
Midnight.
South of Midnight PS5, like it's coming to PS5?
I mean, that was already confirmed. That's the biggest that's the free marketing they got at the Game Awards. They got the award and we're like, it's coming to PS5.
By the way. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I'm not sure
Spring
if
2026.
Oh yeah. Like, are you asking if we have dates? No, I do not know when it's coming. If it's just spring, I don't know more than that. But anyway, that's going to do it from us. Thank you for watching. Check out Jor's video on his impressions of Crimson Desert. Check out all of that stuff. Check out my videos on all of that stuff as well on both of our channels, Luke Stevens and Jor Raptor. Appreciate having you guys here. Y'all are very generous, very wonderful. Much love. Best community on the internet. I'm biased, sure, but that's just my opinion. Cancel me, I don't care. But that's going to do it from us. Much love. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. Mwah.
Bye-bye.